There's something unique and special about Brazilian music that has a degree of sophistication in its harmonic and rhythmic melodic elements. So I think that it really speaks to people of all cultures. I worked with Laurindo Almeida for many years, and we had a trio called Guitar Jam with Larry Coryell, and we toured everywhere. And I really learned a lot about playing this kind of music. It's got intricacies of style that are hard to capture just by the page. You really need to be immersed in that language.
Well, I've had a love affair with Brazil and Brazilian music for over 30 years, since I first went there in the 60s and lived there for almost a year. And have known a number of wonderful Brazilian musicians, and in the forefront of them is Thiago de Mello, whom I met about 10 years ago. And Thiago and I went to Manaus in the Amazon in 1992 to do a concert during the Earth Summit in the Opera House there.
My first 20 years, I lived in the Amazon, in the city of Manaus and the vicinities, in the small towns, spend vacations. And we mean the jungle. And the means of transportation were boats or canoes. So that's why I have a song called My Canoe. And I have a chant called There is a Hole in My Canoe, which reflects this daily movement among the Amazonian people. It's the only means of transportation, and at the same time, the means of communication. After my first 20 years, I came to study in Rio, did physical education and professional soccer, which in Brazil is a big thing. And I always wanted to be a musician. And only when I left, I came here in New York when I was 33 years old, that I started studying music and eventually abandoned everything. And up to this day, that's what I'm doing.
Paul Winter is someone who is new to my life right now, but the remarkable thing about that is that the connection was instantaneous, and through the language of music we were able to communicate a similar spirit and approach to creativity, and for me that was just tremendously inspiring. I think one of the best things about collaboration is that it enriches you as a person and as an artist and a musician. And Thiago, this is now a story of over 11 years that I've known him, and it has changed my playing dramatically. It has made me much more aware of the counterpoint of rhythm that you can find in a single measure, in a single phrase. He has an enormous ability to bring out things you didn't even know were possible. And as that is happening, it adds a completely new dimension to how I would play a piece.
fact, New York was the birthplace of my musical career as a composer, as a performer, because I didn't know anything about the music in the Amazon besides listening to the sound of the winds and the trees, the singing of the birds, the roar of the rivers, and the missionaries from Mississippi going to the Amazon, converting my grandparents, my parents, and singing those spirituals. And the spirituals had a great deal to do with the African elements that came from Bahia through the north of Brazil, to the Amazonian region, during the rubber plantations. And that the mix of this culture was the influence that I used later on when I came to New York and studied music.
Over the years, I've had the opportunity to play also with a number of members of the larger symphony of the earth, different birds and mammals, whose voices, for me, are very similar to those of jazz musicians or earth musicians from many parts of the world. And it's really no different playing with them than playing here with Sharon and Thiago. It's simply a matter of listening and interacting in a certain way, and being part of the same community of life, the symphony of life.
The way Paul Winter plays the saxophone, I've never heard anyone play it like that. It has the human cry, the human voice, a lyricism, an improvisatory creativity. It's a voice unto itself.
For this CD, I prepare special songs. They are catchy, melodic sounds, but they reflect also a sense of where I come from musically, and how this environment in the United States, mostly New York City, which is a different jungle with different animals, helped me to create this music.
What I hear in this album that's really unique is that you have one of the great classical guitarists of the world playing wonderful literature, but that has more of an earth feeling to it than a lot of classical guitar might. And so it's sort of crossing that bridge, which is close to my heart, because all my life I've looked for music that did cross that bridge, that had the depth and the power and the interest and the imagination and the skill of wonderful classical music, but the soul and the rhythm of musics of the earth.
This CD, I would say, is the most fun CD I've ever created. I've done everything from all the Bach lute suites to contemporary American concerti to Latin music to contemporary music. So here I am with an element that is just plain fun. It also has a degree of sophistication that makes it of great value. But you can turn it on while you're waking up in the morning, and it'll give you a good feeling about looking forward to the day ahead. It's something that allows me to enjoy the elements of Latin music that I've always been drawn to. And now I'm not just an observer, I can be a participant in that too.